That's $2 trillion out of your pocket, out of my pocket, out of the American people's pocket, going to support and take care of other countries while Americans are struggling to pay their bills and to make ends meet and to do all these things.
We proclaim in America to look at good old-fashioned values, family, prosperity, all that stuff. Good, hard work gets real result, the American dream, all that stuff. You don't find it so much in America anymore, thanks to decades of, deep state. But you do find that in Russia. People say, yeah, you're just making that up. No, I know enough people whose judgment I really trust that can make a case, argued eruditely and eloquently, that give me the facts and said, look at this, look at that, and look at the statistics, look at the figures. The data don't lie. That's what I'm saying. People don't look at Russia objectively, and they should. As a matter of fact, a lot of the stuff that we really want in America, and like MAGA, bring America back, America first. That's all the Russians are doing. They're just, it happens to be Russia first, but that's what you do when you're Russian. So I
don't see a problem with a country wanting to put their people first.
Exactly.
Of course I expect Russia to be Russia first, and of course I expect Ukraine to be Ukraine first, and you would hope England would be England first, but they're not.
Exactly.
Migrant first,
Right.
I can understand that. It doesn't make you a bad person to feel like that either. It doesn't make you a bad person to feel like that either. The one thing about this country that has really, like in the United States, that has changed, it has been this putting everybody else ahead. I mean, why is the left so adamant about keeping all of these misdirected, abused, wasted, fraudulent programs in effect? Why? I read something today that there was a $2 trillion
with
a T in 2004, $2 trillion trade deficit.
Right, exactly.
$2 trillion. So let's just say, for argument's sake, 1 trillion of that was waste, fraud, and abuse, and another trillion is the actual trade deficit. That's $2 trillion out of your pocket, out of my pocket, out of the American people's pocket, going to support and take care of other countries while Americans are struggling to pay their bills and to make ends meet and to do all these things. And the left,
I know,
in this country is adamant about keeping that waste, fraud, and abuse, all of the junction that these liberal judges are throwing up against this administration.
Right.
On the tariffs, on And the catch thing now is they're entitled to due process. No shit. No.
Right. Exactly.
If you're here in this country illegally, you are not an American citizen. If you're not an American citizen, the Constitution of the United States does not cover you and protect you.
Exactly. No, I fully agree. And I mean, was it even the leftist in chief, Franklin Delano Roosevelt? I forget the exact numbers. I think he deported 19 million illegals.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot. They may not even been illegal, but I mean, we have now 30, 40, 50, 60 million. Nobody knows exactly. And we're giving everything to them. And whatever happened to America first? And these liberal judges, I mean, it's like in the Marxist or the Frankfurt School, all these people, when they came to California in the 50s, they all had this idea of, and this came from Lenin, the march through the institutions. Yeah. So that means you become a leftist little poli-sci student, and then you become a professor at a liberal arts college. And I remember those from the 80s when I was a college student here in St. Petersburg, Florida. And those guys were the most outspoken, and they were grooming people to go through that and now get into positions of politics, or particularly the judiciary, becoming judges. Remember the Ninth District Court and all that from a few years ago when they I mean, there's a lot of real liberal, hardcore leftist judges, and you see them in all kinds of positions, and they sort of work their way through the institutions. And if you look what brought down Rome, it was decadence, a lot of other things, military, whatever, but it was mostly the culture that brought them down. And they took, whenever they went somewhere, they took slaves, and then they became house slaves. And eventually, when the master died or whatever, they could graduate to position in the administrative structure of Rome. And then they took that over, and before they knew it, all of Rome was basically infiltrated by foreigners. And that's what broke. I'm not saying that's simple as that, but it's a major. It's one major factor, maybe the biggest. Some people say.
There were other factors involved too, like for example, incredibly high taxation.
Yeah, that's another thing.
They had a military that was spread all around the world, much like ours.
Yes, 900 bases,
undefended and unprotected borders.
Yes, it's like the goalie. I've seen Germany lose a championship in 2002 when I was there. I watched it, and the goalie was probably in midfield when he should have been in the goal. So that's unprotected borders. The goalie's not home. There's no one to guard us.
Exactly. There are so many parallels between the United States right now and Rome that you got to look. A republic, generally, a republic only lasts about 250.
Then we'd be at the end of that, right? 250, about 260, something like that. No, actually, wait a minute. Bicentennial was 76, so that's 250 roughly, give or take. Yeah, 250 pretty much.
Close, yeah. But that's generally the lifespan of a republic, because
it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. There's certain cycles, and maybe that's the lifespan.
I would hope not for the United States.
I hope not.
But and I'm going to tell you something. I am part of an organization. I'm in Texas right now, and
right, organization. My favorite state. Yes.
Yeah. I'm not a natural born Texan. I'm from New York. Believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah. So I transplanted here about 10 years ago.
Good for you.
But yeah, praise the Lord for that. I'm the deputy county coordinator for an organization called the Texas Nationalist Movement. Now,
I love it.
I don't know if you've heard of them, but so I am the deputy county coordinator for Maverick County, where I live, and it's a wonderful organization. It's a political action committee, basically, that we're looking to. We were looking for Texas to once again stand among the nations of the world as an independent nation, and we're doing that through the legislative process. This is not about taking up arms or anything like that.
No, I get it.
But this is, but it's going through the legislative process, and right now, internal polling, of people that have been polled in Texas, 60% of Texans,
60
of Texans are in support.
Nice.
Of Texas leaving the United States and standing alone. Now, if Texas did that, Texas, right off the bat, becomes the 8th largest economy in the world.
Holy cow! Wow, I didn't.
Yes.
It is probably the most prosperous state. It used to be California, but I think Texas is definitely better now.
Now you got to look at it. Texas has plenty of land. Has plenty of land, ranch land.
Oh, I love Texas. Yes.
Warm water seaports. You have all the oil fields. You have and Texas is not part of the national power grid as it is.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. I heard that somewhere. Yeah.
And just recently, I think it was last week, Texas started to they passed a bill in the Texas House for Texas to have its own currency.